All right, class, welcome to lecture 7, Reform and Terror. But before we actually begin, I want to talk to you about how important this lecture is, how you pay very close attention. And again, don't just write down what's on the paper, but also what I'm talking about. This is a very long lecture, and it can be very confusing. So it's important that you take very good notes, that you review this, that you answer questions, and you do all those types of things. So as you remember what we were talking about last Tuesday in our last lecture, we ended off with the Bastille, the storming of the Bastille by the Third Estate, getting all the weapons, and really being that being the seminal moment to really the start of the revolution for France. They still celebrate this day, Bastille Day, just like we celebrate our Independence Day. The National Assembly, remember, it used to be the Third Estate. They went into the tennis court at Versailles, vowed to lock themselves in until they produce a constitution. They're still meeting in 1789, and they not necessarily a constitution, but they draft a declaration for their new rights. And as you remember, this was heavily influenced by our Declaration of Independence that our founding fathers produced in 1776. So they produce the Declaration of the Rights of Man, and basically what it is, it's a statement of what they believe, the National Assembly, and it's equal rights and freedom for all people, everywhere, not just in France, but really everywhere. And that's going to be important later on as we talk later on in the section, but really they believed everybody deserved equal rights and freedom. Of course, yeah. All European countries should overthrow their kings. They should follow the United States. They should follow the French. And if you are led by a king, boom, throw them kings out of here and start again. And this helps spread the revolution all over Europe. And one of the main quotes from this is, men are born free and remain free and equal in rights. And when they talk about men, it was really just men. Women didn't have equal rights at this time. They wanted rights like the United States of America. As I said earlier, the Declaration of Independence heavily influenced the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. They believed in rule of law. Remember what that means? Simply that nobody is above the law. Just because you are the king doesn't mean that you are against the law. If you commit a crime, you will be punished. Individual rights, equal rights, no taxation without representation, freedom of speech and religion, and most importantly for these guys is the church loses power. Not only did the National Assembly create the Declaration of Rights of Man, they also created a national motto. Liberty, equality, fraternity was their motto. Liberty being freedom, equality making sure everybody was equal, and fraternity simply means brotherhood, or act like a brotherhood. So this is a motto, and this was used throughout the revolution by the members of the Third Estate. Next, Louis makes another bad decision. In June 1791, the royal family runs away. So remember the bread riots, the people stormed the Palace of Versailles and forced the royal family, Queen Marie Antoinette and King Louis, to leave the Palace of Versailles and go to Paris. The royal family does not like this. They are fearing for their lives, so they say, we're just going to leave. We're gonna go to a different country and try and escape. And actually, what they do is they dress up as servants, and their servants dress up as the royal family. And when they're caught, the people know, and they are returned to Paris and put under guard. And this only infuriates the Third Estate, the National Assembly, even more. So the National Assembly, in that tennis court, They vowed to write a constitution, and eventually they do. And the constitution they came up with is France is now a constitutional monarchy, just like the English is. And what it does is it sets limits on the king, so the king is not all powerful. He actually has limits, as written into as evidenced or shown by the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution is a set of laws, and although he's not happy about it, Louis does agree to this because he knows if he doesn't, he's going to lose his head. He's going to be done. So the National Assembly is done. And what they actually do is there is no more National Assembly. They now create an actual new government, the constitutional monarchy, and they create a new government. And that government is now called the Legislative Assembly. So the new government is created. Unfortunately, they have the same old problems as they used to have. 1791 comes, so it's 2 years after the Declaration of Rights of Man. Things are still crappy in the streets. Prices of bread are way, way too high. There's a shortage of food. People are starving. There is not a lot of jobs, and people just aren't happy. Nothing has gotten better. People demand even more change. And the only where to go now from a constitutional monarchy is to get rid of the king, and secondly, become a republic. And as this is going on, France, the National Assembly splits into factions. Now, a faction is a group who have different views. And they divide up into three main factions. You have the conservatives, and they're always going to be on the right. You have the moderates, who are going to be in the center, and you have radicals to the left, or liberals. And these are the same terms we use today. If you're a conservative, you're viewed as a Republican. You lean more to the right. If you're moderate, you're more in the middle. And then if you're a radical, we don't use that word today. We use the word liberal, and those are Democrats. And those terms were made up by during the French Revolution when the National Assembly split. And they are still used today to describe a person's political leanings. Also at this time, political clubs or political parties were started, where people joined a club or they joined like a party who all believed in a certain thing. And the most powerful of these political clubs was called the Jacobins. It's pronounced Jacobin. And their leader was first a guy by the last name of Marat. He eventually passed his leadership onto Robespierre. He was a lawyer. He was part of the bourgeoisie of the Third Estate. And he became the leader of the Jacobins, and he's a very important figure that we're going to come back to later. And those factions that I talk about, they actually sit on the right-hand side. For the conservatives, the moderates actually sit in the middle, and the liberals actually sit on the left-hand side of the hall. And this is the way it is in our government today. When when the president has a State of the Union address, all of the Republicans are going to sit on the right-hand side. All of the liberals are going to sit on the left-hand side, and then you have the moderates in the middle. And we get that precedent from the French Revolution. Sans-culottes versus émigrés. Émigrés is how it's pronounced. So now you have the conservatives who are on the right. You have the radicals on the left. The sans-culottes and the émigrés are extreme versions of conservatives and radicals. So the sans-culottes, they're the Paris workers. They are the far extreme version of the radicals. The people that come from the Third Estate, if you remember, all the workers were highly unemployed. They made a very small wage, and because of this, they wanted a ton of change. They were not very happy with what was going on inside of Paris. On the other hand, you have the émigrés, who are the nobles. Many of these people left when the Great Fear and what was happening, because they feared their life, especially when the peasants stormed all the nobles' houses. So they left, and then they're coming back to Paris right now, and they want the things back the way they were. They want King Louis back in charge. They want the royal family back in charge. So you have these different divisions and these different factions talking about how things should actually be.